Neil, and it's been taken with question 123 also in that deputy's name, and question 133 in Deputy Neil Richmond's name.
Okay.
Deputy Carol McNeill.
Thank you, Ciarán. The question of citizenship is one that's so important to people, particularly post-Brexit, and I'm aware that the department has made very good progress this year with a number of applications, but that's set against a very considerable backlog, and I know that there's substantial work to be done. The Minister might just outline the work of the department, and perhaps we can highlight some of the procedural and communication difficulties that people are facing in that process. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Ciarán, and I thank Deputy Carol McNeill for raising this what is a very important matter, and I propose taking PQs 121, 123 and 133 together. As the Deputy will be aware, my department has continued to accept and process citizenship applications throughout the pandemic and at all levels of public health restrictions. Unfortunately, processing rates have been impacted by the necessary health and safety related restrictions imposed, and we have been unable to hold in-person citizenship ceremonies since March of 2020. In addition to the COVID-19 disruption, a High Court case in 2019, which was subsequently successfully appealed to the Court of Appeal, also resulted in significant delays and the loss of over 6 months of processing times. Currently, there are just over 24,600 applications on hand, almost 22,200 from adults and 2,400 from children. These applications are at various stages within the system, ranging from those who've just received to those where a decision has been made but has not yet possible to issue an invitation to a ceremony. On the 18th of January 2021, my department opened a temporary system that enables the applicants to complete their naturalisation process by signing a statutory declaration of loyalty. Approximately 2,500 people have received their Irish citizenship since then by way of this process, and a further 1,853 people have returned their signed statutory declarations and received their certificates of naturalisation in the coming weeks. By the end of this month, we will have communicated with 6,500 applicants, offering them the opportunity to complete their citizenship through the statutory declaration process. To further address the volumes of applications on hand, we are assigning additional staff to the citizenship team, and a number of measures have been introduced to increase the digitisation of the process. This includes the introduction of e-tax clearance and e-vetting, rolling out online payments, revising the department's website to make it more user-friendly for customers, and launching the first immigration chat box, Tara, which has answered more than 12,000 customer queries in a user-friendly way since last November.
More time because there's two questions, so you can complete the answer. Sorry, Minister. Yeah.
The end result of the digitisation process will be to free up staff resources to focus on processing applications in a timely and efficient manner to improve services to our customers and reduce waiting times. At the end of April, my department hosted the first virtual citizenship celebration, and we plan to hold another event next month to celebrate everyone who has received their citizenship since then. The next in-person ceremonies are provisionally scheduled to take place at the beginning of December, subject to the safety of all involved being assured. So what we're attempting to do here is not only resolve the current backlog that has arisen as a result of a court case and the COVID-19, but put in place this digitisation reform to ensure that the processes are more streamlined, easy and more effectively used for the future as well. So we're taking this opportunity to ensure long-term reform for this area.
Thanks, Minister. Deputy Carol McNeill.
Thank you, Minister. I think that will be very welcome because people are really worried about, for example, sending in their passport, their current passport, particularly when the quality of the communication, if I may say, not from you, of course, but from the department, is sometimes very opaque about what's being sought and the responses back. I have complaints from people who there's no one to talk to, there's only a generic email, they don't necessarily get a response. I have 4 cases at the moment of people who are married to Irish citizens who have Irish kids, and one lady who was married to an Irish citizen for 41 years, domiciled here for 50 years, all in difficulties in trying to get it, all of whom are in the system for 2 years and in some cases over 2 years. It's very, very difficult because of the implications on their lives. One in particular, when we put in representations on their behalf, I put in one gentleman who's living in Ireland full-time for nearly 10 years. His application was at, I was told, an advanced stage, 2 years into the initial application. 3 months later, the answer is unchanged. And that may be so, but people need better information than that, particularly when they're being asked for years and years of bank statements, current passports and everything else. They're putting their lives in the hands of the process and they're just not getting the information back.
Thanks, Deputy. Deputy Neil Richmond.
And I sincerely would like to thank the Minister for State for that very substantive response. And I must say I'm slightly enthused by it, Minister, because I think every crisis presents an opportunity, and the pandemic crisis absolutely presents us with an opportunity to address the major problems that exist within our naturalisation process, problems that land at the doorsteps of so many citizens and wannabe citizens across the state. And Deputy Carol McNeill very eloquently talks about the families that are separated and put at risk. But I would ask in my supplementary, Cathaoirleach, Minister, is there a feasibility with the very major reforms and staffing changes announced by the Minister for State, is there a feasibility to prioritise the very many frontline workers who have dedicated themselves to our safety and our security and our public health over the last really trying number of months, and 15 months and so? Is there a possibility to prioritise them and, like the French have done, give them the first new citizenship ceremonies and indeed ability to take the process in due course?
Thanks, Deputy. Minister.
Thank you, Cathaoirleach, and again thank Deputies Carol McNeill and Deputy Richmond for raising this, what is a very important issue around the issue of citizenship. As a minister, I'm a great believer in plain English, and everything that we're doing, that I'm certainly seeing, I want to see that there is a very simple and clear process, and especially where people can engage with the system and get those very simple and clear answers when necessary. And I'll be visiting Burkey in the afternoon, where again processes are being put in place there now as well, to have a simple one-stop application place where people can apply for information in relation to their processes, because sometimes what's happening, information is being spread out among a number of people within the department, and it can be very hard to collate that back. So that we can also triage the very urgent applications as well. In relation to frontline workers, I mean, I absolutely greatly appreciate the fantastic work and commitment that has been given by all of our frontline workers, well and above beyond the call of duty. They do work in a challenging environment and deal with vulnerable people on a daily basis, and their exceptional commitment has been particularly clear throughout the pandemic. However, all applications for a certificate of naturalisation are processed and assessed individually in accordance with legislation. There are no provisions to apply different criteria depending on the category of employment of the applicant, and all applicants are required to meet minimum periods of recognible resilience, and standard checks are carried out as a part of the overall process. And there is no way within the system to pull out people's employment either. So at the moment, under the legislation and under the systems in place, it's simply not possible to prioritise one category of applicant over another.
Richmond.
Cathaoirleach, and I fully accept the Minister's response, although I will note a tone of disappointment. If the French can't do it, why can't we? But more pertinently, Cathaoirleach, I'd like to ask, and I'd like to point to the elephant in the room. It's an issue I've raised, Minister, with your predecessors. It is the absolute exorbitant cost of the citizenship process. Ireland has the second most expensive naturalisation process in the European Union. It's topped only by Austria. And we talk about frontline workers, we talk about many of them on low-paid jobs, who the very prospect they'd love to apply for citizenship here. They've been here for a considerable amount of time. They're wedded to the community. They've provided such service, such duty over the last 15 months, but they aren't in a position to get the money together. And equally, post-Brexit, the tens of thousands of British nationals who've been here for, in some cases, up to 50, 60 years, or who just happened to be born in the UK and they moved here as very young children, and they are completely prohibited by taking their citizenship. They are Irish, Cathaoirleach, Minister, and we need to recognise that, and we need to substantially look at the cost of naturalisation in this state.
Deputy Carol McNeill.
Thank you, Chair. Deputy Richmond raises the question of fast-track citizenship for those in frontline, and I understand the difficulty in terms of prioritising one employment over another within that process. There is another way of looking at it, as set out in a letter to the Government to Minister Donnelly by 50 consultants from Beaumont Hospital relating to how frontline workers are being treated. And it's about the Stamp 4 system and about how you can acquire the Stamp 4 status. This is for eligibility for training, which obviously is so important to be able to progress to consultant status and to be able to remain in the country. We have people who are coming top of their class who are now leaving Ireland because they cannot get the training to continue to progress their career. And the Beaumont letter, which I'll send the Minister, outlines that very clearly. You can get the Stamp 4 acquired through marriage, but not through working in the HSE. People are coming here, they're spending hundreds of thousands of euros on their training in our medical schools, from which our medical schools are benefiting. They're not then eligible for internship. I appreciate that's a matter for the Department of Health, but then because of our immigration system and because of the backlog in citizenship, as well as this Stamp 4 issue, they're then not eligible to stay and progress their careers, and for us to benefit from their experience and their expertise. I'll forward the letter, and I'd be obliged if you might look at it.
Minister, to conclude.
Thank you, Cathaoirleach. In relation to the issue of around costs, when the department increased the costs around it, the one thing they did find was that the quality of applications increased significantly, and in turn the processing was far more effective and quick as well. The costs reflect the actual cost of processing the applications. In that respect, that's where those costs come out of. But I know it does